Have you ever looked up at a ceiling and felt like it was trying to tell you a secret? What if that ceiling was painted by one of the greatest artists in history, and it was hiding messages in plain sight? Welcome to Old Topic, where today we unlock the mystery of the secret of the Sistine Chapel ceiling. What do the frescoes depict? The Sistine Chapel, nestled within the Vatican, is one of the most visited and admired places in the world. But how much do we really know about the story told across its ceiling? Most tourists glance up in awe, whispering about the creation of Adam. Yet few realize that Michelangelo's masterpiece is more than just beautiful, it's a complex coded visual narrative. Let's start at the beginning. In 1508, Pope Julius II commissioned Michelangelo, already renowned as a sculptor, not a painter, to take on the daunting task of painting the Sistine Chapel ceiling. Michelangelo initially resisted. He considered himself a sculptor, not a fresco artist, but pressure from the Pope left him little choice. What began as reluctance transformed into an unparalleled act of genius. So, what did Michelangelo paint, and why has it intrigued historians, theologians, and conspiracy theorists for centuries? At first glance, the ceiling appears to depict 9 scenes from the Book of Genesis, ranging from the separation of light and darkness to the iconic creation of Adam and the eventual expulsion from the Garden of Eden. But that's just the surface. The deeper you look, the more questions arise. Why are certain figures disproportionately muscular, almost godlike in size? Why do some of the poses and gestures mirror each other so precisely? And why does it feel like Michelangelo was trying to tell us something hidden, something the church may not have fully approved of? Let's take the most iconic scene, the creation of Adam. You've seen it. God reaches out to touch Adam's finger, giving him life. But a closer look at God's surroundings reveals something incredible. In 1990, a pair of American doctors, Frank Meshberger and Garabed Iknoyan, proposed a bold theory. The shape surrounding God and the angels is anatomically accurate to a human brain. Yes, a brain. Could Michelangelo have embedded a neurological metaphor into a sacred image? Was he suggesting that God gifted not just life, but intellect, consciousness to humanity? Michelangelo was known to perform dissections in secret to study human anatomy. If this theory is true, it transforms the fresco from a biblical moment to a bold philosophical statement about divine intelligence. But the secrets don't stop there. Throughout the ceiling, we see powerful sibyls, female prophets from classical mythology, alongside Old Testament prophets. This was unusual. Why did Michelangelo give equal importance to pagan figures in a Christian chapel? Some scholars believe he was making a statement about the universality of divine truth. Others suspect he was embedding a hidden message that truth and wisdom aren't owned by any one religion. The figures themselves are intense, muscular, and emotionally raw, far from the typical serene depictions of holiness in traditional church art. Even the ceiling's architecture tells a story. There are painted fake columns and moldings, creating a 3-dimensional illusion. Michelangelo essentially invented his own visual architecture within the real one. It's as if he was building a mental temple, a structure not of stone but of thought, spirit, and controversy. Another fascinating theory involves the separation of light from darkness, one of the earliest panels Michelangelo painted. In it, God's neck has an unusual pattern, almost grotesque in its form. Neurosurgeons today recognize that shape as a cross-section of the human brainstem. Was this another hidden anatomical message? And then there's the Last Judgment, painted on the altar wall years later. It shows Christ in the center, judging souls rising to heaven or falling to hell. But if you look closely at the flayed skin held by St. Bartholomew, you'll notice the face resembles Michelangelo himself. Many believe this was a symbolic self-portrait, a confession of spiritual struggle, or even a critique of the Church's treatment of artists. So why did Michelangelo hide these messages? During the Renaissance, the Church held immense power. Artists had to walk a fine line between creative expression and religious dogma. Michelangelo, though devout, was also a humanist, deeply influenced by classical knowledge, science, and personal turmoil. His frescoes may be his silent rebellion, a canvas of secrets only the observant can decode. Some even argue the entire ceiling is a map of the human experience, spiritually and biologically. From divine spark to mortal struggle, from knowledge to sin, Michelangelo may have painted a spiritual anatomy of mankind. Over 500 years later, we're still discovering new meanings hidden in these images, and maybe, just maybe, that's the point. The Sistine Chapel ceiling wasn't just painted to impress. It was painted to provoke thought, to challenge authority, to encode truth. So, the next time you see an image of that famous ceiling, don't just admire its beauty. Ask yourself, what secrets still lie hidden in the cracks and curves of Michelangelo's brush? What was he really trying to tell us? Because some ceilings don't just hold up buildings, they hold up mysteries. Thanks for watching Old Topic, and don't forget to look up The Next Secret Might Be Right Above You.